It was about a year and a half ago that I was in the media booth, and Claire, our cashier, was sitting next to it, and she was looking at a blank screen during a service, and all of a sudden the lyrics came up, and it was kind of like the gasp around the world, because she goes, "Oh, there are lyrics on the TV!" She was so excited, and ever since, we have been developing our media program to constantly be able to provide you with our announcements and our lyrics on the TV. And then, of course, we have our live stream where people can see not only our video feed, but the lyrics as well. And the live streaming has become quite the project that can no longer be done just by the two that are in the media booth and also be able to facilitate our PowerPoint. So we are looking for volunteers to come and sit on an entire Sunday, so both services, and sing along and move the PowerPoint forward and be a part of that. So what we're gonna do is we actually have an orientation for those who are interested. That is February the 18th, right after the 11 a.m. service here in the sanctuary. So we're looking for 4 to 5 volunteers. And to make sure that you guys all think about this throughout the week and forever on, I'm gonna play Oprah for just a moment. We have mouse pads. So every time you look down on your mouse at your computer, you could think, oh, I'm gonna volunteer at Spiritual Life Center. So you get a mouse pad, you get a mouse pad, everyone gets a mouse pad. And if you don't get it while I'm passing them out now, come to see me after the service and I'll get you more free mouse pads.
All right. Keep coming back.
Yes.
Next time maybe cars.
Well, speaking of things that are fun, we are currently, are you all aware that Deepak, have you ever heard of Deepak Chopra with a show of hands? Okay, are you aware that he's coming to the Crest Theater on Saturday, February 17th? Well, we have a rare opportunity for you. We have secured, we are a co-sponsor of that event. We have secured 2 VIP tickets to that event. It includes great VIP seating. It includes a VIP reception with a meet and greet with Dr. Chopra himself. 2 of his brand new books, and so you won't want to miss the opportunity. Those ticket sales are exclusive. They are not online. They can only happen in the courtyard or in the office here or by calling in. So we will do the raffle tickets. I'm sorry, what did I say? I didn't say raffle. It's a raffle. So you can win 2 chances at being a VIP guest with Dr. Chopra on the 17th. There's a special table for those tickets. We're going to draw that special winner for those 2 tickets next Sunday at 12:15 promptly. So get your tickets.
Woohoo.
And you what? And you don't have to be present to win.
You just need.
How much? We have, gosh, it's so great to have help. And Lord knows I need it. So tickets are 1 for $25 or 5 for $100. That's a bargain. So.
And it's a $350 value for each ticket, right?
It is.
Yes.
Not for each ticket.
Oh,
for the
total?
package,
Okay.
For the package.
Still a good deal.
It's a great group announcement.
All right.
Yeah.
Also want to let you know we have a wonderful guest speaker and presenter here on February the 25th, Stephen Dinan, and he's the CEO of the Shift Network, and he's going to be offering Sacred America Visionary Sacramento. He's the current voice of sacred activism, and he's really helping individuals kind of rise above the political divide through his, what they call it, transpartisanship. Yes, which is another way of seeing the world, and it's based upon his book, Sacred America, Sacred World, Fulfilling Our Mission in Service to All. So he'll be here at the service at 9 and 11 and also giving a workshop that afternoon based upon those principles.
Yeah, wonderful opportunity. And we also have something great coming up. So SLC is partnering with the Compassionate Care Sacramento Group and Joan Marie to offer a film screening of the movie Heal that will also feature Deepak Chopra among many new thought and luminaries that are current today. So we are going to watch that film. It's going to be Friday, March 2nd, right here in the sanctuary, and then we're going to have a follow-up Q&A panel discussion. We are bringing in Jan Adrian, who is a longtime congregant here, a former board of trustee. She's the founder of Healing Journeys. She's a 28-year cancer survivor and thriver. We're going to have Reverend Dr. Gail Darren on that panel. We're going to have Joan Marie and Danny Kress on that panel. They are both alternative therapy practitioners and specialists. So come and join together. There isn't one. See your inserts for that. There isn't anyone here that movie won't touch deeply. So join us for that.
Yes. And of course, one of the things that I've discovered over time is the primary thing that's probably helpful for our own spiritual journey is to have a practice of meditation. I don't know if you ever have a day in your life where you feel, God, I got too much to do. There's a lot of stress going on. There's a collective angst going on in the world. I need to get my mind settled. So one of the things we're going to do is have a 3-week introductory class on mindfulness meditation for successful living. And we invite you to be part of that if you want to calm your mind. And there's so many other benefits that science has come forward to show when you have a consistent meditation practice. So collectively, we're going to indicate what those benefits are in the class and collectively have our own meditation experience over those 3 weeks. So there's more information in your bulletin. I'll be facilitating that.
And it's a great thing because you actually walk that talk.
I try the best I can.
I know. When we get
I've been
really
doing it for a long time, and I'm still
he
learning.
Meditates more.
Yeah, for like 20 years I've been doing it, and I still am trying to get it down.
It's it's wonderful. And so right now I want to introduce some important people to you, our ambassadors and our prayer chaplains, if you'd stand. Those ambassadors wear the rainbow ribbon, and they are here to welcome our newcomers and point you in the direction of ways to get connected here at SLC. And the chaplains today are wearing those white stoles. They dedicate an entire year of service to this beautiful community in holding us in conscious prayer, whether it be for a challenge or a celebration. See them in the back of the room after service or in the courtyard. And I just want to introduce one new ambassador. Her name is Riva. She has 4 legs, and she is the companion to Eileen Lauer. So what I want to just say this morning is there are beautiful ways to interact with a service dog, and the best way is not to. So until you have an eye contact with Eileen and you talk to her about whether or not this is a good time to speak to the dog is working. So let's be mindful of our newest ambassador, Riva, and congratulations, Eileen. Yeah.
All right.
So,
and we have, first-timers?
in a moment,
Okay.
we're going to ask you to raise your hands if you're brand new here today for the first time. And then we're going to give them a welcome card.
Yes.
And we'd love for you to fill out that welcome card. And that welcome card is a ticket to get connected here at SLC.
So, if you're here for the very first time.
Well, it's, let's tell them about all the ways to get connected. One is to fill out that card.
Yes.
And is to sign up for James' weekly email, which is so informative and inspiring. There's also wonderful other ways on the back to get connected with small groups here. So now,
There's a few to your left,
yeah,
my right,
if you're
your
here
left.
for the first time, do keep your hand up.
Yes.
You want to talk about the chalet?
Yes, talk about the shell. This is what happens when we go off script, but that's okay. We're handing out a chalet, and the chalet has a tag on there, and the tag says, we believe that we're spiritual beings having a human experience, and there are many paths to the one God, and we're thankful that you are here to share your pathway and your consciousness with us, and we're so grateful to have that with us as part of Spiritual Life Center.
And come back next week when we will be totally unscripted.
Rescript maybe for next week. So we'd like to acknowledge our newcomers and acknowledge each other, greet one another, and say, you look marvelous. Glad you are here today as we enjoy this morning.
right. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. We're gonna start our day with a little love, with a little peace, and a little joy.
I start my day with love. When I start my day with love, that's what I get more of is love. I start my day with love. When I start my day with love, that's what I get more of is love. Love, love, love. Love, love, love. Love, love, love. Love, love, love. I start my day with peace. When I start my day with peace, I feel the sweet release of peace. I start my day with peace. When I start my day with peace, I feel the sweet release of peace. Peace, peace, peace. Peace, peace, peace. Peace, peace, peace. Peace, peace, peace. I start my day with joy. When I start my day with joy, everything I do is infused with joy. I start my day with joy. When I start my day with joy, everything I do is infused with joy. Joy, 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 yeah. Joy, joy, joy. Joy, 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 yeah. Joy, joy, joy. I start my day with love. I start my day with peace. I start my day with joy. That's through the free release. I start my day with love. I start my day with peace. I start my day with joy, and I feel the sweet release. I start my day with joy. I start my day with love. I start my day with joy, and I feel the sweet release. Love, peace, joy, sweet release. Love, oh, sweet release. I start my day, and I feel the sweet release.
That's right. Give yourselves a hand. Beautiful singing.
Thank you, choir.
Now let's embody these words as we speak together our vision statement. Spiritual Life Center is a loving, vibrant family that welcomes home all people and accepts everyone, no exceptions. Weaving ancient spiritual traditions with emerging wisdom, we cultivate spiritual deepening, the divine, each other, and our planet. Now, as we prepare for meditation, we sing this beautiful chant, I am Spirit.
Ooh.
As we come together in meditation today, let's breathe together. With each breath, relaxing. With each breath, softening. Feel the vibration of that beautiful chant in every cell of your being. I am spirit. I am holy. I am sacred. I am love. I am love. Let that land deep within you. I am love. God, we are grateful for the wisdom teachings of the Toltec. As we embrace your wisdom in all faiths, we see the common thread that unites us. God, oneness. Oneness speaks in all languages and through all faiths. As the Toltec wisdom shares, it's all God. The world of illusion, the dream, is just like smoke, which doesn't allow us to see what we really are. The real us is pure love, pure light. Yes. Pure love, pure light is what you really are. This is what you're here to know, to experience, to be. The 4 agreements are powerful truths to raise our awareness and show us how to live that love in the world. Our minds have been programmed with the need to know. So what we don't know, we make up. We assume we know. Very unconsciously, we fill in the blanks and accept it as truth. And then we often operate from this untruth as if it were true. And so we ask, we listen, we get clear, and we trust. We are more conscious every day, every moment. Our Creator, our God, is inviting us into a relationship with the unknown, the pure potential of all that is. The unknown is safe. It's our place of power. And so we do our best. We do our best with all of the agreements and in all of life. And we accept that our best isn't always the same. And we can't use our best to judge someone else's best. And so we quit being so hard on ourselves and each other. We remember who we are. We are spirit. We are holy. We are sacred. We are love. These practices raise our awareness. The more we notice, the more we notice. And so we practice. We do our best. We do what we love, and our life transforms. So as we take a moment in the silence, we simply rest here in the love that we are. As CJ beautifully shared, God has no hands but ours. Here we are, God. Use us to love. And so it is.
There once was a kingdom far, far away, where love was the rule of the day. Nothing more, nothing less than to give your friend your best. There's much more story than I can tell to make the hardest heart swell. This is the story when love was king. When love was king, do you remember when love was king? When love was king, I remember when love was king. He ruled the land with his fist unfurled, with open arms for the world of hungry children. First he'd think to pull their lives from the brink. When love was king, he rescued souls lost in the sea, in drifting vessels. He a line before they'd sink, and gave the thirsty ones a drink. He told the meek that they should try to use the sword to smite the lie, that being kind is for the weak when love was king. I pray the Lord these words we seek. Oh, 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 when love was king, he showed respect for every man, regardless of their skin or clan. Beside him stood his mighty queen, an equal force, wise and keen. He lifted up the underneath, and all his wealth he did bequeath to those who toiled without a gain, so they would remember his reign. Oh, so seek someplace to call your own, right next to this mighty shining throne. When love was king, do you remember? My good people, do you remember? When love was king.
When love was king, it always has been, will be forever. And if we were to describe one word to describe this presence we call God, we say that God is love. Most can agree to that. And God is good. And all the time. So I think about what to share today on our second week of the 4 agreements, agreements 3 and 4. I recall a story about Amadou Diallo. About 18, 19 years ago this month, Amadou was walking in front of his apartment in New York. And some police officers came by, 4 of them in a car. And they drove past him as he was walking down the street. And to them, he looked suspicious, based upon past profiles and experiences that they had. And then they backtracked to go toward him. And they were saying to themselves that this guy's pretty brazen because he's not running. We know he's done something, but he didn't run. And so the officers got outside of the car, started walking toward Mr. Diallo. And in that very moment, he reached into his pocket And in an instant, in a flash, in a blink, the police officers unfortunately shot and killed Mr. Diallo. And it came to find out sometime after that he was reaching in his pocket to get his wallet to show his ID. That's an extreme example of what can happen when we make an assumption that turns out not to be true, not to be based in reality. They hadn't asked him any questions. They were making an assumption. You know, this week we're looking at the second part of this compressed series on the book, The Four Agreements. And I think the premise of that book, as I looked at it and reread it over time, is that all of us are born into the planet where we have certain beliefs, many of them not comporting for what's real. They're just kind of in the thought atmosphere. It's been here when we got here. And as a consequence, we often are living by some rules made up by other people. We've been playing those rules that have been based upon history, that have been articulated in the human experience for a long time, and sometimes we're in a prison of our own making. And so the Four Agreements really about giving us back our freedom, giving us back the opportunity to see what's beyond what that limited beliefs are. In fact, Ernest Holmes, the co-founder of religious science, said something to the effect that all of nature, all of God, is conspiring for the freedom of the individual in that so that it can unloose its own energy. In other words, it can be expressed through us. But of course, freedom means that we have the ability to choose. But in order to really choose, we have to be fully aware. And when we're not aware, we really don't have any choice. We're just reacting based upon past experiences. And so Don Miguel Ruiz talks about what we can do to move into this freedom. And last week we talked about the first two agreements to help us achieve that. And one of them was being impeccable with our word. And he said that we should never use our word to speak against ourselves or put limits on ourselves or limits of what's possible for us, because then we're constricting what's possible in our life. It's reaffirming a certain consciousness that creates a rim about which we will not go beyond. And then he addressed the idea that don't take anything personally. Most human beings, well, let me talk about myself, I think. You know, it's always about me. Me. Because when we take anything personally about what a person has done, what situations have happened to us, we begin to give away our power. And the Four Agreements are really about giving our power back. So today we're talking about the additional agreements that Don Miguel Ruiz talks about to give us that spiritual freedom, that we're no longer hindered in realizing it. And one of them is, of course, don't make assumptions. You know, there's a scriptural reference in John in which the master said, don't judge by appearances, but use right judgment. Sometimes we often assess a situation or a person, and then quickly we make an assumption and we judge unrighteously. Sometimes we do it to ourselves, sometimes we do it with other people. I was sharing in the earlier service many years ago in other previous spiritual community, I was looking for what would be like our Paula, for music, And we had gone through a music director who had moved on to do some other things in life, and we were doing all the things that we thought we needed to do to attract the right and perfect person. Put ads in the alternative newspaper, contact the local colleges and university to get the right and perfect individual. We had other persons to kind of give us referrals, and we went through a whole lot. And eventually we did get someone, but that person ended up leaving to take a job on a cruise ship. I don't know why they would do that and not want to hang around with us, Got a job on a cruise ship. And so we were kind of desperate to get the right person. And there was an individual who I had spoken with during the process, and we didn't hire that person. And, because the person came to me, and I had my own judgment about what the right and perfect person would look like, how they would act. So he was kind of like, a little disheveled, and, he talked a little slow, and, he didn't really show up in a way that I thought, that person should show up. But I was desperate. I said, well, will you come and kind of work with us? And turned out, this guy was brilliant. I mean, like beyond awesome. He would just come into work one day later in the afternoon and say, this morning, I was hearing a song on the radio. I think it'd be really good for us to play this. And just out of the top of his head, he would just break out the piano, sing it. I said, you remembered the song and the tune from this morning? And not only that, I didn't realize that he had a studio. So he used to bring all of these soloists that were some of the top singers in the community. Some of them went on to be on The Voice and that other show similar to that. And so he had all of these contacts. So in an instant, he just boosted our whole music program to a whole different level. And I was making an assumption based upon my thoughts about what he could not do. Thank God that other person took that job on this cruise ship. Because I was making a judgment based upon what I thought was accurate and correct. Sometimes we make assumptions without a clarity of understanding about what someone is saying, what's behind the words that they use. And there's a miscommunication along the way. And you may have heard about the gentleman who, had the opportunity to talk with God himself. And he told God, he had a desire. And his desire was that he wanted to be the smartest person in the entire world. That was his wish. And he somehow was able to get that wish. And he got back from God and said, I don't know, you need to think about this. I don't know if he told him, with great, what was that sermon in the Spider-Man? With great power comes great responsibility. He said, you may not even know what you're taking on if you want to be the smartest person in the world. Are you sure you want to do this? And he was absolutely certain. Yes, I want to be the smartest person in the world. And God said, okay, I hope you really are ready for this. And he granted his wish. And what he did was, in an instant, bam, he became a woman. He had certain assumptions. Now, understand, that's only a story. We make assumptions about everything in our life. I think a few people need a little more laughter time here. Sometimes we make assumptions. We think people think the way that we think, or feel the way that we feel, or judge the way that we judge, or see things the same way. But Don Miguel Ruiz realizes that literally we dream things up in our own imaginations that has no basis in reality. Oftentimes people will have this happen in their relating to other people. They think the other person can read their mind, and of course the universe can't. Sometimes leads to confusion and disagreements or misunderstandings along the way. There's a simple one that I can think of. There was a father said he agreed to take his daughter for a walk, on a certain day and time, and that day and time arrived, which they were supposed to have their walk. And it was pouring rain that day. And so the father said to her, hey, it's raining outside. And so the daughter went to the back room, little girl. She proceeded to get on her galoshes, her raincoat, her hat, ready to go for the walk. And she walked back out there, and he said, I said it's raining outside. There was a miscommunication. There was assumptions that were being made, and therefore there's no connections, like two ships passing in the night. So we don't want to just make assumptions. We have sometimes I have to ask questions, get a little bit more behind what someone may be saying or what they're doing. Sometimes we have collective assumptions, the belief that, maybe you were born into this or grew up in this environment that, one day, we're going to all shuffle off the mortal coil and we're going to go to a place and live happily ever after. If, in fact, we're good, that there's some sort of judgmental God around us. But you understand that happily even after awareness is a direct descendant of this idea of religious abuse, where people try to control other people. It came and go years ago, try to control, other people through this myth. One day you'll be good, and if you're good enough, then you go to this great place. But in the meantime, let me control your life. Let me control what you should say and do and act in the world. No one here, but some are into that, and it's okay, no judgment there. But many have been bamboozled into this subliminal miseducation. A lot of erudite individuals, lots of letters behind their names, telling you one day, if you're good, you're going to go to some place called heaven, and we've often accepted it, hook, line, and sinker. But we're here to break away from those kinds of illusions, the mitote that Don Miguel Ruiz talked about. Breaking away from the happily ever after, you go to a place that's going to be good. Speaking of assumptions, I was thinking about a story by a gentleman called Bashir. He was born in 1931, and he was one of 6 children that were born of sharecroppers. An African-American gentleman, and he, in 1948, enlisted into the Navy. And this was just before President Truman had desegregated the troops. And he went there with the intention of going into diving and salvage school. He wanted to be a diver. And no one from his background had ever done this before. He had faced a lot of hostility along the way. Lots of racial epithets were hurled at him. But he got through it. He graduated. And to make a long story short, he was doing some sort of recovering some bombs or something in the ocean or some sort of exercise. And there was an accident that took place on the ship. And it severed his left leg and nearly cut it completely off. And in his rehabilitation, he got really infected and they had to amputate his leg. And so he went through 2 years of intense rehabilitation, painful rehabilitation. And he had what others assumed to be an impossible goal in mind. He wanted to be recertified as a diver once again. And they were saying, you can't do this. It's impossible. Things have changed. You got to wear these big, heavy suits, and how can you do that with just a prosthetic device on your leg? But he didn't hold to that belief. He didn't make that as an assumption for his life. And after coming back, he not only got recertified, but he became one of the highest rated divers in that arena during his time. And what he said that when he went through this, that he was sharing with other people, he said, it's no crime to get knocked down. The crime is to stay down. And he said, I'm not going to let nobody steal my dream. He had a totally different assumption about what was possible in his life. He didn't accept the assumption that he was powerless, that he was simply a victim of circumstance. He did not judge by appearances, but he used right judgment, saying the amputation had no power over me. If he had looked and lived in the consciousness of, look what happened to me. This is bad, this is terrible, and lived under that assumption, he would have stayed on that level and never stepped into what was possible for his life. He stepped out of the impossibility thinking. He did not operate under that law. He operated the law of God, which is all-powerful, and the event to him was neutral, and it became an opportunity to demonstrate the resurrecting power of God within him. Sometimes when we have those experiences and we challenge those assumptions, we realize that it'll take us to another level. And the seeming challenge or circumstance that would hold us back is nothing more than a stepping stone, a signet, a signpost, an advertisement for the presence of God. But Don Miguel Ruiz goes a little bit further to help us move into that freedom that we're looking for. And the key, he says, is to take action. And here he talks about always doing our best. You know, the Gospel of John says something to the effect, if you know these things, blessed if you do them. You know, in the Unity Basics class we had on yesterday and Thursday night, we talked about that fifth principle. How do we apply what it is that we know? Because it's not here just to spout them off. How do we make it practical in our day-to-day life? Sometimes people say, you know, if they read a few things, you know, I want the advanced spiritual training. I want the advanced stuff. The reality is there is no advanced spiritual training. There's only theory and practice. The only advanced is practice. We got to put it in our life. And we try to get a little better every day about what we're doing. You know, the principles that we know. Get a little better, a little better, a little better, a little better. We may fall off the wagon every once in a while. But at the end, there is always something positive for us. I remember many years ago, I used to jog every morning. Don't do that now. Elliptical machine is my exercise. But I remember there was someone in my neighborhood, a young woman who, you know, had been going through some challenges. She had diabetes. She had high blood pressure. She was severely overweight. And she had a heart attack, and she was concerned that she wouldn't be there for her kids. And, of course, she went to the doctor. The doctor gave her some instructions about how to change her diet and so forth. And one of the things was for her to do exercise regularly. So she started out just walking, you know, along the same path that I was. So I'd see her periodically. You know, the first day that she went out, she could just walk, you know, maybe a block, and she would get exhausted. But that was the best that she could do right then. She'd come back and do it the next day and walk another block. And sometimes I didn't see her for a while, and I crossed paths with her, you know, around the time that I would be out there. And after a while, she was brisk walking. And then I hadn't seen her for like months because I wasn't as consistent as she was with the exercise thing. But I did see her. One day I was out there. And lo and behold, I didn't even recognize who she was. She was half the person and size that she was the very first day that I saw her. But all she did was take a little bit of improvement each and every day, do a little bit more, and then something magnificent began to happen in her life. She constantly did her best. And eventually she had something that moved her to get to that point of being healthy and whole, but she had a higher purpose behind it, and that kept her motivated along the way. Sometimes we have to ask, you know, why did God create me? That keeps us going. Why did God create me? Why am I here? And if we have that, we'll always be motivated to do our best. And we'll stop making assumptions about ourselves. I remember just recently running across a story about a gentleman who had gotten a message on Facebook. Somebody gets sucked into that Facebook thing, so I got to watch myself. And he had gotten a message from a man in Liberia. And he thought it was like, you know, some internet scam, you know. And the message was, could he send him some electronic devices to his country, and he could resell them to the people around him in his community, and they could split the profits. Well, the gentleman who had received the message obviously was making an assumption about the guy. He was very skeptical about this whole thing. But he said, well, you know, I'm going to kind of play along with him, and, you know, maybe if I keep him occupied, he won't be scamming other people. And so what he said was, well, I can't send you any electronic devices because I don't have any, but I got a proposition for you. If you will send me pictures of what's going on in your community and send them back to me, I will sell them and we'll split the money. You know, because he was a photographer and he was in that business. And lo and behold, the very next day, he did get some pictures from the guy. And the photographer said, the pictures were horrible. It's almost like he had taken the pictures on a flip phone from 15 years ago, and they turned out really terrible. But he was impressed that he responded and did it. So he decided to send him a $30 camera so he could take better pictures. So he eventually received the camera for the better pictures, and he took the pictures, which was an improvement, but they still weren't that good. So he sent him some instructions. And he said, hold the camera steady, make sure you give him more lighting so you can get better pictures. And he did that. And each day, he had engaged in continuous improvement. He got a little better, and a little better, and a little better. And then eventually, he was sending back spectacular pictures. And they were so good, he decided the photographer said he was going to put together a booklet, put it on the internet, and sell it to other people, and then send him back half the profits as he agreed. And lo and behold, he said he sold 1,000 of those booklets to 40 countries, people from 40 different countries. All because the guy improved a little bit. The photographer began to erode his assumptions about what that person was about. And he had made, so much money on it that the photographer said, I'm going to take my half of the profits and I want to give it to charity. And he asked the gentleman from Liberia, does he know a place he can actually send the money? Because he figured this would be the ultimate test. If he sent him his part of the money and he didn't get it back, he's being scammed. But he decided to do it. And he said, yes, I know where you can use that money. We can use that money to buy school supplies for all the children in my community, because they need pencils, they need books, they need supplies, they need chairs. And so he sent $500 or $600 to him, and he asked him that when he got them to take pictures of everything. He didn't know whether or not he was going to take the money and never hear from the guy again. But he bought all of the supplies, the pencils, the books, the chairs, and there was so much stuff that he had to call a taxi cab to put everything in there. And he sent back to him all of these magnificent pictures of the children and how they were receiving all of these goods and how it made such a difference in their lives. And later on, he said that he sent a message to this gentleman because he was looking for some angel that would serve as a way that he could express more of God in his life. And he said he was the one he was looking for. He improved a little bit every day in his photography. The gentleman began to erode his own assumptions about who this gentleman was. And they came together to make a big difference in someone's life. Somehow God showed up in a way that they never, ever imagined. I would say that's really the good news. That true freedom happens because we realize that we can wake up from away from our assumptions. We can improve a little bit every day and realize there's always something within us that's far greater than anything that's happening in our world. God is good all the time. This presence of God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. We just remove the shackles that somehow are holding us back from realizing that. And by practicing these principles that Don Miguel Ruiz points out in his book, gives an opportunity to do that. We assume the goodness of God, that love is God itself. If we're going to assume anything, let's assume that. And I believe when we partner with that presence, when we become a co-creative agent of that presence, we are partnering with the truth that will liberate us and make us free on so many different levels. And our responsibility is just this: follow these principles or any other principles. As we talked about, today we're talking about no longer making assumptions and doing the very best that we can with what we know. That's all we can do. And God provides the increase along the way. And so it is, and so we let it be. Amen. Next week we're going to talk about the fifth agreement, which came out after the 4 agreements. And I've kind of labeled this, How to Get Out of the Matrix. You know, remember if you watch The Matrix, we're kind of in this matrix and a belief system that we're not even aware of. And so we're going to see how we can get out of this matrix. I think one of the questions I asked, now, how do you know you're in it? I got to think about that. But anyway, let's prepare for our love offerings and our gifts, our tithes. And know that we're practicing this principle that is immutable, that what we give out comes back to us. It helps us as well as those who receive it. It helps this community to set up programs for our youth to continue to grow, develop, and unfold. It helps us in order to contribute to other organizations that are making a difference in people's lives and transforming their lives. So I'd ask you to symbolically raise your gift to the heavens. If you've already given, know that you're in this flow that is always present. So let's say that offertory blessing together. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, and all that I circulate. Thank you, God.
Y'all know this old tune. This is an old tune, y'all. Watch this. You gotta be. Listen as your day unfolds. Challenge what the future holds. Try and keep your head up to the sky. Lovers, they may cause you tears. Go ahead, release your fears. Stand up and be counted. Don't be ashamed to cry. You gotta be bad. You gotta be bold. You gotta be wiser. You gotta be hard, you gotta be tough, you gotta be stronger. You gotta be cool, you gotta be calm, you gotta stay together. All I know is love will save the day. Hear what your mother said, reading the books your father read, trying to solve the puzzles in your own sweet time. Some may have more cash than you, others take a different view. You gotta be bold, you gotta be wiser. You gotta be hard, you gotta be tough, you gotta be stronger. You gotta be cool, you gotta be calm, you gotta stay together. All I know is love will save the day. Don't ask no questions, it goes on without you, leaving you behind if you can't stand the pace. The world keeps on spinning. If you try to, this time is danger staring you in the face. Listen as your day unfolds. Challenge what the future holds. Try and keep your head up to the sky. Lovers, they may cause you tears. Go ahead, release your fears. Be bold, you gotta be wiser. You gotta be hard, you gotta be tough, you gotta be stronger. You gotta be cool, you gotta be calm, you gotta stay together. All I know is love will save the day. Got to be bold, got to be bad, got to be wise. You're out of sight. Got to be hard, but not
Love will save the day. Love is all-powerful, everywhere present presence. We bless these tithes and offerings, knowing they're going to bless the givers and receivers. We know that wherever we give, money is nothing more than the shadow of love. So we spread that shadow everywhere that we go. And so it is, and so we let it be. Amen. And with that, let us join together and sing our peace song.